American Sign Language is the visual language of the deaf, but I don't really know a lot about it, and I hate not knowing about stuff. I assume you do too. So here is a little history, a little details, a little bit of weird in a deep dive into the world of ASL on today's episode of 5 Weird Things. Welcome to the channel. I think the first time I actually saw sign language being used was in a movie called Children of a Lesser God with Marlee Matlin. It was a great film. I mean, we never had anybody in my extended family that was deaf, so my exposure to it was pretty non-existent. I read about it. Now, I did go to school with somebody that I found out at one of our reunions after high school that they had become a sign translator, but that was not anything I'd ever been involved with when I knew them. All right, let's get into it. First, the things we all need to know. American Sign Language traces its roots back to early 19th century, was heavily influenced by French Sign Language, known as LSF, brought to the U.S. by Laurent Clerc, a deaf educator, and Thomas Gallaudet, a hearing minister. Together, they established the American School for the Deaf in 1817, where ASL began to develop. Now, over time, ASL evolved into its own unique language, separate from English, with distinct grammar, structure, and regional dialects, much like accents. Today, it's used by hundreds of thousands of deaf and hard of hearing individuals in the U.S. and Canada. ASL is also embraced by interpreters, CODAs, children of deaf adults, and even Hollywood. With its rich visual storytelling, ASL isn't just a language, it's an art form and a cultural identity. Everybody got that? Good. Weird thing number 5, celebrities that use ASL. American Sign Language isn't just for the deaf community. Many celebrities have learned it for personal, professional, and even unexpected reasons. Some use it to communicate with deaf family members, while others picked it up for acting roles or as a passion project. First up, Keanu Reeves. Of course, Keanu Reeves. Is there anything that man doesn't do? Now, the internet's favorite humble king knows ASL. He learned it, some signs, to communicate with a deaf fan, and he's been spotted using ASL in interviews. Okay, this one's kind of obvious. I mentioned her earlier. Marlee Matlin is a deaf actress and the only deaf performer ever to win an Academy Award for Children of a Lesser God. It was that good a film. She's been a major advocate for ASL in Hollywood and even helped teach other celebrities, including Henry Winkler and Jack Jason, her longtime interpreter. Next, Millie Bobby Brown. The Stranger Things star learned ASL as a child because she is partially deaf in one ear. She's been seen signing to fans and even used ASL on The Tonight Show to spell out "I love you" to Jimmy Fallon. I actually saw that. It was cute as hell. It's like 11 out of 10 points cool. Emilia Jones. For her role in Coda, a movie about a hearing child of deaf parents, Emilia Jones spent months learning ASL. She not only signed fluently in the film, but also performed live in ASL at the Oscars. Russell Harvard. Deaf actor Russell Harvard, known for There Will Be Blood and Fargo, you haven't seen Fargo, see it, has helped bring ASL into the mainstream. His performances prove that ASL isn't just a language, it is an art form. So from actors to activists, ASL is spreading through Hollywood, and that's a sign of something great. Weird thing number 4. The grammar and facial expressions in ASL are pretty intense. Now, ASL is a fully developed language with its own unique grammar, distinct from English. It's not just signing word for word the English language. Unlike spoken languages that rely on word order and vocal inflection, ASL uses hand shapes, movement, space, and facial expressions to convey meaning. ASL follows a different sentence structure than English. While English typically follows subject, verb, object order, like I eat pizza, ASL often uses topic, comment structure, like pizza, I eat. This structure allows signers to establish the topic before providing details on the topic. Seems to make more sense. Additionally, ASL uses non-manual markers, facial expressions, and body movements to add grammatical meaning. For example, raising your eyebrows while signing a topic indicates that it's a question, while lowering your eyebrows suggests a more serious or complex inquiry. Now, the role of facial expressions in ASL are not just meant for emphasis. They are essential to the communication. They can change the meaning of a sign or clarify intent. You go with raised eyebrows means, are you going? Eyebrows furrowed, it's a question, where'd you go? With lowered eyebrows means, where are you gonna go? Mouth shape changes. This is a descriptive emphasis. Pursed lips can indicate something is small, while an open mouth might show surprise or excitement. Now, without proper facial expressions, ASL sentences can become unclear, just as a monotonous voice might sound flat or confusing in a spoken language. These visual elements make ASL a dynamic, expressive language, allowing for nuanced communication beyond just hand movements. Weird thing number 3. Famous deaf murderers. Now, while history is filled with stories of notorious criminals, very few of them happen to be deaf. However, there are some cases where deaf individuals have been involved in very serious crimes, including murder, showing that crime doesn't discriminate by ability. Donald Lang, the silent suspect. Donald Lang was a deaf and illiterate man accused of murder in the 1960s. Born in Chicago, Lang was unable to read, write, or use sign language, making it nearly impossible for him to defend himself in court. He was charged with the murder of a hooker. But his trial highlighted serious flaws in the legal system's ability to handle deaf defendants. While no effective way to communicate, his case became a legal paradox. He was deemed incompetent to stand trial because he can't participate in his own defense, but they weren't able to set him free. His story was later dramatized in a TV movie called Dummy that came out in 1979. Patrick McCullough, a deadly love triangle. In 2014, Patrick McCullough, a deaf man from Ohio, was convicted of murdering his ex-girlfriend's new boyfriend. The crime was described as a deadly mix of jealousy and rage, and McCullough was sentenced to life in prison. His case was notable because it raised questions about communication barriers in prison and how deaf inmates navigate the legal system. And finally, a bit of a celebrity here, Joseph Crazy Joe Gallo, a mobster with hearing loss. Joe Gallo was not fully deaf, but he had significant hearing loss and was involved in organized crime. If that happens to be an area you kind of study and you really enjoy, like myself, he is a name that you know. A key figure in the Colombo crime family, he was known for reckless violence and even inspired characters in The Godfather. His criminal career ended when he was gunned down in a restaurant in 1972. Though rare, these cases show that deaf criminals face unique legal challenges, some tragic, others downright bizarre. Weird thing number 2. ASL is a global thing. And while American Sign Language, ASL, originated in the United States, it has gained popularity worldwide. It's not a universal language, but ASL is one of the most widely used sign languages due to its influence on international deaf education and media. Now, ASL is primarily used in the United States and Canada, but it has also influenced sign languages in countries like the Philippines, Ghana, and Nigeria. Many deaf schools in these countries incorporate ASL vocabulary and structure, making it a linguistic export, like Hollywood movies, but with better representation. Even in places where ASL isn't the dominant sign language, it is often taught as a second language. Thanks to social media and international deaf events, ASL has become the lingua franca of deaf communities worldwide. Now, the World Health Organization, WHO, estimates that over 1.5 billion people worldwide experience some degree of hearing loss, with at least 430 million having disabled hearing loss. Within this group, tens of millions rely on sign language as their primary form of communication. There are over 300 different sign languages worldwide, with ASL being one of the most studied. Other major sign languages include British Sign Language, known as BSL, French Sign Language, known as LSF, and Chinese Sign Language, CSL. Unlike spoken languages, these are not mutually intelligible, meaning an ASL user wouldn't automatically understand BSL, much like how an American and a Brit might both speak English, but they argue over what chips mean. Now, with increasing advocacy and technology, ASL and other sign languages continue to gain recognition, proving that signed communication is as rich and diverse as spoken language, just with more expressive eyebrows. And finally, weird thing number 1. ASL, Hollywood's silent star. ASL has made its way into some of Hollywood's biggest hits, proving that great storytelling doesn't always require spoken words. From horror to romance, here are 5 of the most popular movies that feature ASL. And yes, expressive eyebrows are a must. First up, Coda, 2021, the movie that made ASL history. This heartwarming drama follows a hearing girl raised by deaf parents. As she finds her own voice, literally and figuratively. Now, not only did Coda win Best Picture at the Oscars, but it also made history by featuring a predominantly deaf cast, including the fantastic Troy Kotsur, who became the first deaf male actor to win an Oscar. Talk about breaking barriers without even saying a word. Number 2, A Quiet Place, 2018. ASL as a survival tool. In a world where making a sound gets you eaten, ASL became the ultimate life-saving hack. This horror thriller stars Millicent Simmons, a deaf actress who brought authenticity to the role. Plus, John Krasinski and Emily Blunt learned ASL for the film, proving that sign language is just as important as, say, running away from monsters. The Shape of Water, 2017. Love in Sign Language. This Oscar-winning fantasy film features a mute woman, Alyssa, who communicates using ASL. She falls in love with a mysterious amphibian creature, proving that ASL works even in interspecies relationships. Who knew sign language could be so romantic? The Sound of Metal, 2019, A Drummer's Silent Journey. When a rock drummer loses his hearing, he's forced to learn ASL and navigate deaf culture. This powerful film earned multiple Oscar nominations and showcased real deaf actors, highlighting the struggles and strength of the deaf community. The Eternals, 2021, the first deaf superhero. Marvel finally introduced its first deaf superhero, Makari, played by deaf actress Lauren Ridloff. With ASL included in the film, it proved that superheroes don't need super hearing, just super cool sign language skills. And with ASL becoming more visible in Hollywood, one thing is clear. Sign language isn't just a mode of communication, it's a storytelling superpower. Well, that's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I learned something. Hope you did too. Do me a favor, watch a few more videos. I would really appreciate it. Take care and have a great day.